Okay, so now that we've talked about what are the rules for our exponent rules, like, oh, we add the little numbers and we multiply the big numbers, and we subtract the little numbers when we divide the big numbers. Now we got to talk about, well, what if I just want to add or subtract things together? So this is kind of going back to combining like terms. So to add or subtract any of these polynomials, that means each of these things is a term, and I can sometimes add or subtract some of them and put them together. But to add or subtract them, the terms have to have the same letter, and they have to have the same exponent number to be put together. So if I look at this polynomial down here, I see that the only thing that has an x to the 2 power is this -4. So I could not add this with anything. But I could be adding a number that has just an x with another number that has just an x. So I would be able to add them together. We have pretty much done this already, but now we are not just doing it with x. Sometimes we have x to a power. I cannot put x to a 2 power with just an x power. They do not add together. So when we're doing this, I'm going to check, I'm going to see where is my biggest exponent number. So in all of these, this is just an x, this is just a number, this is an x to the 2 power, and that's it. So when I write my answer, I know I'm going to have some number with an x to the 2 power. And then I'm going to have some number to the x power. And then I know I'm going to have just a regular number. I'm going down from the biggest exponent down by 1. So, oh, this is x to the 2 power. This would be x to the 1 power. This would be no x's. I know I have to have something for all of these boxes. So looking up here, what can I add together because they both have an x to the 2 power? Well, where are my x to the 2's? I have a -3x to the 2 and a +12x to the 2. So I'm going to add those together. -3 plus 12. And when I type that, I would type that in Desmos, -3 plus 12, and I would get 9. So I'm going to put that in the box. Okay, to get my x number, well, where are my x numbers up here? So I have 9x. And I have a -4x, so I'm going to put 9 plus -4. I'm always adding these numbers together, just like when we combine like terms. When we have been solving equations, we just add them together. So 9 plus -4, that's a little tricky. We're going to type that in. So 9 plus -4 is a +5, so we're going to put that in. And our just regular numbers, I have a +7 and I have a +2. So 7 plus 2 we know is 9. So final answer when I go to type this in my answer would be 9x squared plus 5x plus 9. I cannot combine anything, like I can't add any of those numbers together because they're not the same kind of numbers. This is a naked number. This has an x, this is an x to the 2. None of those are the same. Okay, same thing on number 2. We're trying to combine like terms. Now, this one has parentheses. So you would have to get rid of the parentheses first. But this one's a little special because when I check in front of these parentheses, I don't see a number in front. That means it's a +1. When I have a +1 in front, that does not change anything that happens on the inside. So I can drop the parentheses and not write them because this is a +1 means drop the parentheses. Over here in front of this set of parentheses, what number is in front? Well, this is a +1. A +1 in front of the parentheses does not change anything, so I can forget the parentheses and just write what it says on the inside. And now that there is no parentheses, I can add some numbers together. So I'm checking what's my biggest exponent number. Well, I only have x's and regular numbers. So I'm going to have something with an x plus something with just a regular number. So what are my x numbers in this one? We've done this before. Here's my 8x, and I have a -2x, so I'm doing 8 plus -2. We would type that in Desmos, and you would get 6. And then I have my regular numbers 10 plus 3 is just 13. So final answer, 6x plus 13. Easy. That one's easy. You just got to get rid of the parentheses. If it's positive 1 in front of the parentheses, you can ignore the parentheses. Number 3, oh, we have parentheses again. So we got to check what's in the front. So in front of these parentheses, that's a positive 1. That means I can forget my parentheses. I don't need to write them. So I'm just going to copy what it says. Copying what it says, not changing anything. In front of my second parentheses, now I have a negative 1 in front. So I cannot just ignore the parentheses now because that's actually a number, not just a positive 1. It's a negative 1, so I got to put negative 1. Parentheses means I got to multiply. So I'm going to multiply all of these things by negative 1. So 11 times negative 1. Here we go. 11 times negative 1 is negative 11. So we put negative 11. Negative 1 times 8. Negative 1 times 8 is negative 8. So negative 8, x to the 3. Don't forget the x was there. And negative 1 times negative 3 is negative 3. Hello. Negative 3 is positive 3. So we're going to put plus 3x squared. Okay, now, first parentheses I dropped because it was a positive 1. Second parentheses, I have to multiply the negative 1 in because I can't just drop it. So now I'm checking which of these can I add together. Well, I have x to the 2. Do I have anything bigger than an x to the 2? Yes, I have an x to the 3. So I'm going to put something x to the 3. And then we're going down. X to the 2, an x, and a regular number. So let's see, what can we add? So where are my x to the 3's? I only have one x to the 3, which was negative 8. So I have nothing to add with it, so I just put it in the box. Great. It's okay if I don't have anything to add with it. If there's only one of those things, there's nothing to combine it with. All right, let's look for our x to the 2's. I got negative 5x to the 2 and a positive 3x to the 2. So we're doing negative 5 plus 3. I type it. Negative 5 plus 3 is negative 2. I put negative 2 in the box. For my x's, I have a positive 4x, but nothing, no other regular x's. So I'm just going to drop that 4 in there. And then for my regular numbers, I have a negative 2 and a negative 11. So negative 2 plus negative 11. We're going to type that in Desmos. Negative 2 plus negative 11 is negative 13. Okay, so now, how do I write this as my answer? So I have negative 8x to the 3rd. If this, like I always put a plus sign. If this is a negative number in there, I do not need to put plus negative. I just put the minus sign. Okay, same thing over here. I have a plus and negative. I just put the minus sign. Final answer. None of those can go together. And look at how my answer is written. I have the biggest exponent and then going down by 1. It is important the order you write it in. If you write it in the wrong order, then the formatter is going to tell you that you typed it in the wrong order. Okay, let's do one more example. All right, last one. So I see parentheses, so I got to figure out, can I drop the parentheses or do I have to multiply? Well, what's the number in front of the parentheses this time is a negative 3. So since negative 3 is in the front, I cannot just drop it. So I need to multiply times negative 3. So negative 3 times positive 1 in the front of that. Here we go. Negative 3 times 1 is negative 3. So this is negative 3x to the 4, because that was x to the 4 before. And then I'm doing negative 3 times negative 6. Negative 3 times negative 6 is positive 18. So plus 18x. Everything else we're going to drop down. Everything else we're going to drop down. Okay. And now I'm looking, okay, what can I add together? Well, to put it in order, I find my biggest exponent. And I know that would go first. So I have x to the 4, and then I'm going down. X to the 3, x to the 2, x, and regular number. So what are my x to the 4 numbers? I only see a -3. That's okay. So I don't have anything to add with that. What are my x to the 3 numbers? I don't see any. So that's a 0. That's okay, because there are none of them. There are 0 of them. That's great. X to the 2 numbers. Also none of them. So I put a 0. My x numbers, well, I have some of those. I have a -18x and a positive 18x. So -18 plus 18, we're going to type that in Desmos. -18 plus 18 is 0. Oh my gosh, that's okay. 0. And then my naked number, I only have one of them, positive 15. So I put it in there. Great. So when I go to write my final answer, if these numbers are a 0, then I do not need to write them in my answer. So I have to put -3x to the 4th. Duh, because that's actually a number. But I don't have to put 0x to the 3 because there aren't any x to the 3's. So I'm going to skip this one. I don't write it in my answer. I don't write this one in my answer because that was a 0. I don't write this one in my answer because that was a 0. But I do put the plus 15. And this is my answer. Other than that, you guys should be good to go. Make sure when you are, like if you're having problems typing this in Desmos, make sure to get the exponent, you have to push Shift 6, and it does a little caret, and then you just press the number. And then to get out of the exponent, you're going to have to push the right arrow on your keyboard. Okay, if you're having problems, let me know and I can give you more details on that. But other than that, you guys are good to start the formative.